guys are great. I wanted to witness, this is a historic one, I wanted to witness. I appreciate your brief comments. Yeah, you gave us a book. You guys are all, you know, but there's no way to read it. Yeah, I really appreciate it. You really told me some very good things. Thank you.
Okay.
Motion to approve Mr. Blakey's sergeant at arms.
Yeah, right, right, very good.
Hi, how are you?
Chief of Staff. Oh, Angela, didn't he tell you I was singing national?
Okay, 6 o'clock. We'll now call to order a special meeting of the City Council, Monday, October 28th, 2024, at 6 PM. Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Councilman Robinson.
Here.
Councilwoman McGee.
Here?
Councilman Dwyer.
Here.
Councilman Boyke.
Present.
Councilman Noonan.
Here.
Councilman Lafferty.
Here.
Councilwoman Moore is present. We have a quorum.
Next item.
Next item, adoption of the agenda. Acknowledge receipt of special meeting notice. So moved.
Support Lafferty.
Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Lafferty? Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes.
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Stroganski is a yes. Next item.
Next item is consideration and adoption of a resolution approving budget amendment for the Warren City Clerk to purchase a DS 950 high-speed scanner and tabulator in the amount of $140,370. Motion to deny with discussion.
Support Lafferty.
Discussion, Ms. Moore.
Thank you. Just to bring everybody up to speed, a few weeks ago, there was a Voice of Democracy or some such name to a panel discussion on the election in the county. And at that time, there were some concerns brought up about problems in Warren and the fact that the absentee ballots were not going to be tabulated in the 8 days prior to the general election. I thought that was concerning. I added it to the council agenda last meeting, and we discussed it at that time. And we all expressed our concerns, why the ballots were not going to be tabulated, and I think everybody sort of weighed in at that time. Since that time, last Thursday, after the close of business, council office received a request for a special meeting from the city clerk, Sonia Buffa, indicating, let me find the exact document, what she requested. She requested a special meeting to consider and approve the purchase of a new DS 950 high-speed counter and tabulator. This machine will expedite ballot counting and results for the November 5th general election. Immediate purchase is necessary to ensure arrival prior to the election. The upcoming election is intended to have high turnout, and expedient processing is essential to the public welfare. I deem this as an emergency purchase under Section 2-337.9. In any event, a special meeting would be greatly appreciated to consider and approve this equipment. First off, emergency purchases are done by the mayor with concurrence from the controller and Mr. Schroeder, somebody else, I think. Approval has to come from the mayor
And the purchasing agent.
and the purchasing agent, which that didn't happen.
Madam Chair, take a recess.
Yes,
take care of
motion
the problem.
to have a recess.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're recessed.
Is that gonna happen every 5 minutes?
Well,
You never know in this building.
We need to leave the door open, right?
Motion to reconvene.
back in session?
All in,
Oh, yeah. Apparently, he's the sergeant at arms. now.
hold your motion. There we go. Okay, motion by Mr. Boyke. Support anyone?
Support?
We could just go
Resuming
back.
the rules, yeah. Back in session.
Just to pick up where I was, it said that this was essential to the public welfare. Well, the legal definition of public welfare is resources and conditions needed for healthy and comfortable living, which I don't think the tabulating of ballots fits that definition, but neither here nor there. But that an emergency has to come from the mayor. When I received this, I sent in the next morning, around 6:30 in the morning, an email, a return email to Ms. Buffa indicating that any request for an appropriation of funds mid-cycle, mid-budget cycle had to come from the mayor's office, and that also we would have to be, the sole source would have to be verified by the purchasing agent. Another thing that was there was whether the ballots would be, could be then counted on or tabulated the day before. I subsequently found out that that was incorrect information that came from the Secretary of State's office, that we were not eligible to count ballots that day. So I did send an email to Ms. Buffa to making her aware that we were aware that that was not possible. So I didn't want her to think we were asking for anything unreasonable. On Friday night, maybe 8:30, was it Friday night? A request for an appropriation and a request for approval of an appropriation of funds came from the mayor. And at that point, then on Saturday, Ms. Camp sent out a notice for the meeting. Subsequent to that time, I have certainly had many discussions with the state, the county, clerks around the state, and actually what we have 4 high-speed printers, as I understand, that together do about 300 ballots per minute. So counters, tabulators, and they could probably be done in a perfect world 2.5 hours, but probably 5 hours at the outset. So we probably have the equipment to be able to count them. But certainly, if you were able to tabulate earlier than that, and certainly being able to open the ballots the day before and flatten them and be ready to put in the tabulators would certainly be helpful for that. I don't know how many election workers we have. I talked to another city of comparable size. They have 450 election workers on Tuesday. So I would think that that would be plenty of personnel to handle the ballot counting. I think that what has happened is that with pressure from the state, the county, actually nationally, people have been on TV criticizing the clerk for opting out of early tabulating, put pressure on the clerk, and her back was up against the wall, and she thought the only way out was to get a $140,000 tabulator that the taxpayers have to pay for. The email said there was money in the clerk's budget for this item. There is not.
Possible.
Pardon me?
Possible.
I'm sorry?
Wasn't it possible funds that will be available, that may be available? I'm sorry, I'm talking out of turn. Sorry.
I will find the exact wording.
Funding is currently available.
The funding is currently available in account number 101-121597400. Upon remittance of the grant funds, I will submit a budget amendment request to reallocate and replenish the funds. I don't think we have a procedure in Warren to borrow money and then pay it back. In some documentation, it said a grant has been applied for, or there is a grant. I'd like to see a copy of that grant that was sent in. And the mayor was very, very complimentary of the clerk for applying for this grant and going above and beyond and getting the grant. I'd like to see a copy of that, because I've not been able to find it or find anybody that knows about a grant for this machine. I'm sure every clerk in the state would like to have a $140,000 high-speed tabulator, but I don't know every place to go in the world to look for grants. I'm not a grant writer, that's not my job. But I'd like to see a copy of the grant that was submitted. The problem out of Warren, in the opinion of many around the state, is not the tabulating of votes. It is the fact that the votes are tabulated early enough in the evening, but the sticks are not given to the county until hours and hours later. They don't have to all be sent at once. You can send 2 or 3 sticks at a time, or 1, or however many. The county clerk has offered to send a sheriff with an election worker to Warren to pick up the sticks to take to the county. They've also offered to send a sheriff deputy with an election worker and bring an election worker from Warren on the trip to the county. They've offered to help with election workers, bring extra machines. I was not aware that we had high-speed tabulators, and that's a pretty common thing. I think a lot of people got things out of grants in the last few years for that. So the big problem is not getting the sticks. The paperwork does not have to go. The sticks alone can go to the county, and that is what I think needs to be done, is the results have to be given quicker than, they ought to be there by the 11 o'clock news, because everybody's going to be looking here for those results. And Michigan is a swing state. Sometimes Macomb County has been pivotal in national elections, and we certainly don't want to be the people that are holding up getting the results. Late today, I received an email from Ms. Buffa saying that she had decided to rent a machine for $40,000. By renting first, she would able to responsibly manage taxpayer resources. I don't know what that means, but if she's already sure of the grant, why would you have to rent a machine to see how it's going to work if you had the grant money? That makes no sense to me. So first and foremost, I'd like to see the grant money, or the grant application, because I'd certainly like to do research on what the chances of us getting that are. That'd be great if we get that. That would be fabulous. I think it's a little late in the game to be doing that, the training, and I know that the sticks have to be programmed. Maybe they're pre-programmed by this company, I don't know. But in any event, if it's a rental, city council has to approve any contract that's entered into for the rental. I suppose that would have to be another meeting that we would have to meet on to approve any rental contract that's going to be entered into. So those are my statements for now.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Any other discussion?
I'd like to say that I appreciate Secretary Moore's diligence in finding out the details of all this and putting it together, and your hard work over the weekend on an unnecessary, apparently emergency basis. I believe that the opportunity to get this funding should have occurred during the budget cycle, and it should have been clear by now exactly how this would go, and that we would be all in the clear on our elections. I hope that the point has been made and gets through to our city clerk that the sticks should get up to the county on time, as soon as available, and that the city of Warren should not be holding up the election for the county, for the state, or for the whole country. Thank you so much.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Woike?
question for Secretary Moore. The email that you said you received from the clerk regarding the rental of a tabulating machine, was there any mention in lieu of withdrawing this request, or if you could read that email to us?
Yes. Sorry, I just had it off here. If you have another question, I'll find this while you're, oh, here's a press release from a press statement on the decision to rent rather than purchase the DS 950 high-speed scanner and tabulator. Would you like me to read that? Yeah.
Was that from the clerk?
Yep.
When was it?
This was sent at 4:29.
Today.
Yes. The city clerk's office has decided to rent the DS 950 high-speed scanner and tabulator, allowing us to thoroughly evaluate its performance before considering a full purchase. Though through an arrangement with the vendor, we have the unique opportunity to use the machine in an actual election, proving that it works as expected to meet our high standards of accuracy and efficiency. This $40,000 rental provides assurance that absentee ballots will be processed quickly and accurately with careful consideration given to additional staffing needs, logistical planning, and operational demands. By renting first, we're able to responsibly manage taxpayer resources while investing in the tools that best support our community's needs. The clerk's office remains committed to transparency, integrity, and operational excellence in every election. This rental approach ensures we're making informed decisions that serve the public interest in both the long and short term.
Okay, thank you. Well, listening to that, it sounds like that she wants to rent the machine before purchasing it to see how it works. You know, no different than taking a car for a test ride before you purchase it. So why are we here for this today?
Right, actually, the clerk asked to cancel this meeting, but everybody was on their way. Ms. Camp was here, and we had a lot of questions. We've done a lot of research, and in fact, I think you and I talked about the questions you asked at budget time that maybe you want to reiterate.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to make one statement, like what Al said about budget time. I specifically asked the city clerk what items you needed. You know, we talked about it, the election integrity, if you needed an investigator, whatever you need, tell us what you need. The only thing we got was a vehicle to transport this ballots around and machines. No further questions.
Thank you. Ms. McGee?
My biggest concern is the reputation, as the rest of you, the reputation of this city. I heard Madam, our secretary state that with the machines that we use, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that we can tabulate 300 with the machines that we have. Is that correct?
Yes, per minute for 11-inch ballots. We are dealing with 17-inch ballots this time, so if that slows it down a little bit, I'm not entirely sure it could. That's everything being perfect. No paper jams if that happens, that kind of.
And with the tabulator, it would do 280 for the tabulator per minute, correct? So we will have to use 3 machines, 4 tabulators in order to do 300, but this one tabulator would do 280 per minute, and it would make it a little bit faster. So my concern is, I don't want to be the city that hold up the entire election and the reputation of the city. Now, I'm in agreement with the 40,000 for rental, but my concerns is the contract itself, how long will it take for training, how many people to train, and will it be ready on election day? Those are all my concerns. And I don't know if you have someone here who can answer those questions, because my thing is, like I said, we all don't want to let this city be the city that hold up the entire election. And so if she can answer those questions, it would be muchly appreciated.
Ms. Buffa isn't here. Ms. DeDoherty, if you can introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Lisa DeLory. I'm the deputy clerk. I'm here to answer any questions regarding the operation of the machines. I have not used the 950, but from what I've seen and researched on my own, it operates fairly similar to the 450. So I should be able to catch on to it pretty quickly, and I can show the workers how to use it as well. It operates pretty similar, from my understanding, as the 450.
And how many people would it take to get trained for that?
I have approximately 50 people that are working on the counting board. I'm going to train anywhere from 2 to 4 per machine. And then I also have workers that have used the machines for several years now. So my understanding is that it operates very similar to the 450, which is what we have right now.
And what is the maintenance?
Can you clarify?
Just in case the machine break down, or?
We can always run the ballots through on another machine if that were to happen.
And will we be able to use the machine for additional
Yes.
elections? It seems as if,
Can you clarify if it's a rental, because if it's a rental?
yeah, if it's a rental.
Okay.
So you would have to continue to rent it?
No,
It's just a rental one time?
for this election, yes.
What are the numbers so far? It seems as though with the photos that I've seen, it seems as though the number of people that are voting has drastically increased.
As far as absentee,
Absentee and early voting.
we have approximately 27,000 ballots we've sent out. Returned, I have not checked today, it's been busy, but I would say about 16,000 returned. And then we have the early voting that's taking place as well, and we've had a large turnout for that.
larger than usual?
This is the first presidential we've had early voting, so I don't really have anything to compare it to.
But the percentage, as far as approximate percentage, does it seem like, even with, I know this is the first time early voting, didn't we do early
We
voting
had
for
it in
primary?
February and we had it in August. This is the first presidential to have early voting.
Oh, presidential. Because it seemed like quite a bit of people are coming out.
We've had quite a few people come in. We're at a little over 3,400 in 3 days.
And so the tabulating that normally may take up to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, it may take even longer with the number of people, with the numbers
I don't
increasing.
think so. We have the 4 machines as of right now, and I think we can get it done just as we have in the past.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Madam President,
Mr. Lafferty?
thank you. Good evening. I prepared just like Madam Secretary Moore did and others for this special meeting, and I had 19 different questions prepared for this evening. But since we're not talking about the item on the agenda that is being rescinded based on the press release by the city clerk, we're talking now about a $40,000 rental that's not on this agenda. So that's not something we can approve tonight. Is the clerk going to be asking for another emergency meeting of council, another special meeting of council, a revised agreement and appropriation request from the administration to be sent to the council office? When is that going to happen? And my next question, I guess, and with all due respect to you, Ms. Dialordi, where is the city clerk?
I'm here on his behalf.
I'm not doubting that. You're here present in front of us. I'm asking, where is our elected city clerk that put Ms. Moore and this council on notice, caused a great deal of churn, a great deal of work, a great deal of preparation, and doesn't have the respect to appear before this council to answer questions herself? I want to know where the elected city clerk is. The fact that we're meeting this evening exactly 1 week prior to Election Day demonstrates a complete failure in long-term planning and executive decision-making by the city clerk. Members of this council worked unnecessarily throughout the weekend to assist. We offered assistance, and she's not here to answer questions. That's unacceptable by any stretch. A couple of housekeeping items through the chair to Mr. Fox. You have a line item. Now, we zeroed out in the budget, we zeroed out the office equipment. In fact, it was already zeroed when it came to us in budget time for office equipment. So that line item was zero. This general contingency, I was unable to find that account in the encumbrance report.
Okay, so the general fund contingency is in the general fund. That's the money at the end of the budget year that it goes into the whole general fund, not in the clerk's department.
Right. I kind of figured based on the numbering that it wasn't relegated just to that particular department, but it just didn't appear in the encumbrance report from our last meeting.
It wouldn't, because it's just a separate fund, it's a contingent fund, and if a department needs additional funding, we take it from the contingency and put it into their department.
Understood. All right. Okay, so is there an agreement? Have you seen an agreement come through, a rental agreement?
Not yet, no.
All right. Through the chair to Ms. Dialordi, is there a rental agreement that has been procured and submitted to the administration?
I can find out, I'm not sure.
I believe there has been, but it just recently.
So this, you were answering questions for...
Not yet, I'm sorry. No, I just double checked.
Okay, so there is no agreement. You were answering questions for Ms. McGee, and you said that this agreement would be for one-time use. It would be delivered for Election Day.
Yes.
And so we're 1 week away. When would this, if we had another meeting, you're at least 18 hours away from another meeting being called. It would maybe, with any luck, get to City Hall by Monday.
Yes.
Maybe.
Friday.
Maybe. That's a big maybe. Many of the questions that I had prepared for tonight were to understand the introduction of a new piece of equipment, the programming of it, and how it might interfere with an already prepared election. All of the different memory cards that you're using, have those been tested with the county clerk coming from that particular tabulator? Would the introduction of a new tabulator somehow adversely affect, unknowingly, adversely affect everything that has been prepared for this major election? And we can't answer that. The clerk cannot answer that question because it hasn't been tested. Now, from my standpoint, technologically, that is a risk. The right people aren't at the table. The technical expertise is completely absent, and we don't have the answers. That makes this a very high-risk decision, a risk that we cannot afford to take. Absolutely not. And not to mention the other work that still has yet to be done. You're asking, if your boss is asking, Ms. Dialordi, to put the administration through this additional rigor on a rush timeline, which only increases risk, even further than we're at right now.
If I may answer some of that, because I do know from what she was telling us, because that was the first questions we had asked before setting this up. The machines are tested already by the state, and then you guys test them. We test them locally. So they're already certified by the state, I'm sorry.
I understand I researched all weekend. I understand the certification process. I researched the credentials of the National Institute of Standards and Technology and the cybersecurity testing and all of the other state of Michigan testing that happened subsequent to that. I'm well aware of the certifications and all, but it still doesn't answer the question, how does the introduction of a new piece of equipment, a new tabulator introduced into the electionware software, how does that potentially affect everything else that's already been done? Will it possibly affect the counting of ballots that equipment was not there when those memory cards were prepared for all of the other precincts and all of the other counting boards? That's a question that you're not going to be able to answer tonight. I have no other questions, but I am at this point I could not support this effort that's in front of us, and I would not be in favor of even bringing in an additional tabulator at this late stage of the game. We had this meeting in this room back in April asking the clerk for everything she needed and if her budget was sufficient, and the answer was yes, we're well prepared. We're meeting 1 week from the day of the election in an emergency. Not good. Thank you.
Ms. Ludovisi, you had something?
From my understanding, the tabulator didn't become available for purchase until after our budgets, which is why she was researching all of this originally for next year's budget. So she heard your concerns at the meeting and moved up her timeline. I know that doesn't answer all of your questions, but hopefully that gives you some of understanding where she was coming from.
Thank you. Mr. Noonan?
Madam President, I'm sorry, I should know your name, but I don't.
My name is Lisa Deloria.
Deloria?
Lisa. Lisa is the first name.
Lisa.
Lisa, yes.
If I may call you Lisa. So I heard Secretary Moore saying that in elections past, that the sticks were ready to be sent up to the county much earlier in the evening than they ended up getting sent to the county.
Or, can you clarify that?
Yes. So the votes get tabulated
Yes.
pretty early in the evening. It only seems to take 5 hours. Would that be an accurate statement?
No.
Okay, please tell me more.
Well, I mean, it depends on the volume of ballots. It doesn't just take 5 hours. We start at 8 a.m. and we process all day.
Right?
We have ballots that are returned up until 8 p.m. We have 6 boxes we have to check throughout the city. We have to get those scanned in. We have to get them sorted. So
Okay.
it doesn't just take 5
Okay.
hours.
So, other cities managed to get this done on a timely basis, and I believe that it's true that for the last 10 elections, a lot of elections, our numbers don't get to the county, or it doesn't get posted by the county until like 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the morning. I know I've waited up and given up on the Warren count many times, and it's gone, okay, I'm going to bed. You know, I've been through this before. Other cities get it done on time. Why can't we? That's a real question. And it sounds like we can. I believe Clerk Moore has stated exactly what we need to do. I would appreciate it if the clerk's department would do that. And if that really is the problem, which you don't seem to be willing to admit, and I see that you're filling in for someone who's not here, who's an elected official, who asked us to be here and should have been here. What's up? Why are you even here? And why would we need to rent it? Why, if we're not buying it, rent it, buy it? If we don't need it, why are we doing it? We already have, how many voting tabulation machines do we have?
We have 4.
We have 4. And some of them could be set up in different parts of the city, perhaps? Is that true?
We do it all at City Hall.
But they could be done in other parts of the city? No?
No.
Okay, so I thought I had heard something about that. And then I thought that we were going to be able to, the clerk was going to be able to start counting the day before, even though she hadn't asked, was it the state or the county elections to get the 8-day early count going? She would have had to have registered for that, correct?
Yes.
Was it possible at some point that she could have still, even though she hadn't done that, started the early counting the day before the election?
The deadline was October 8th.
October 8th. So she had up till October 8th to ask for the day before the election. And she didn't do it. This doesn't look like very good management. I'm sorry. So, I don't mean to be mean, but I don't see why we should have to reconvene to go for a rental when it seems like the real deal is get the votes tabulated, get the sticks up on time. Thank you very much. I yield.
Mr. Boyke, and then I had a few questions.
Madam Chair, a question for Mr. Fox, City Patrol. In response to the administration about the budget and putting an item in their request, my first year doing the budget, you helped me a lot, but don't we still put requests in, even though an item may not be available, to appropriate the money if it did? And let's say it didn't come available, then you possibly buy another, to present to the council, or another machine came up that we want to buy instead. And let's say that machine didn't come up for sale, and you put $140,000 in there. That would just fall into the contingency fund at the end of the year to be reappropriated later. Is that correct? So they could have put it in there. They requested the money set aside in their budget with the anticipation of buying that machine.
Well, I don't think they knew, unfortunately, I don't think they knew about the machine based on what I just heard, so. But at any point in time, even during the year, if a request is made to amend the budget to add something, then my office will prepare, the mayor will use it if she's on board with it.
Well, the department heads are responsible for that, or elected officials, but know what they need in their office, right? Thank you.
I had a few questions.
Yield back.
Thank you. What, the $40,000, if the rental is approved, does that go towards the purchase of 140? Like, if we want to purchase the machine,
I do believe that is an option that we have, yes.
so it would be applied towards the total
The
purchase?
Yes, if we were to
Can be.
purchase.
Percentage.
Okay.
I don't know if all 40,000 or if there's a, yeah.
That would be
but
helpful.
Most of it, yes.
What would, Ms. DeLordi, what would the cost per day be in a presidential election such as this one if we were counting ballots early? So like, let's say we decided to start counting ballots today, roughly, I don't know how many workers you have and what they make.
We would have to pay the election workers, if we pre-processed, I'm just guessing,
Yeah.
maybe 25, 30 workers a day, at about $200 per worker.
$200 per worker?
I'm just approximately.
No, I appreciate the approximation. So 25, with our existing equipment, if we did that, we use our existing equipment, our 4 tabulators.
Yes.
So it would be about $6,000 a day based on those estimates. I realize those could change based
Yes,
on
correct.
what you're saying, but let's just say 6,000 to 8,000, just to even give you some room. $6,000 to $8,000 a day in labor with the existing machinery that we have for us to be able to get ahead of what is counting the ballots and produce our results sooner. So even if we did it 3 days in advance, and I'll even say 10 grand, it would be $30,000 in labor. And that's, we're being very generous for the amount of people that would be there. $30,000 in labor without having to purchase additional equipment. So why, I guess, and you may not be able to answer this, but it would be helpful to understand the logic, whether that was an operational decision, a fiduciary decision, why we didn't just opt to pay more people or recruit more people, pay the people we already have that want to come in additional days to do counting of ballots earlier, because it certainly would be the more fiduciary thing to do. And we wouldn't be in this room trying to make this decision on the 11th hour with not even the right information, right? Do you know of the response to that?
I'm not sure.
Okay, and then how many workers will we have on Tuesday?
Approximately 400.
Okay. Rent to own. So I had a note, Mr. Fox, where is the additional 40K coming from? So it looks like, maybe that was what you read earlier? Was that the 40K? Okay, thank you. Okay, that's all I have on this one.
Sure.
Mhm.
Just to clarify, Ms. McGee, that when I gave those numbers, it was based on 30,000 ballots a day that would take 2.5 hours in a perfect world. But it takes, people have lunches and things like that. So so they can still do, those 4 machines can do 18,000 ballots an hour. And we're gonna have 30,000, that's what they're predicting. The county told me we should expect about 30,000 AVs. So that, in a perfect world, if you could do 18, you had all 4 machines running, and if we had been able to open them the day before, if we had opted in, then they're out of the envelopes, they're flattened, and they can go right into the tabulators. I know that Sterling Heights has 450 workers on election day, but if you'll remember, I asked Ms. Buffa how many election workers she had, and she wouldn't tell me. She said the state reimburses, so we shouldn't be concerned with how much election workers are paid. So, I don't know if that's true. I didn't call anybody and check, but I asked and I sent a follow-up email because I wanted to know how many election workers we had, and I was given the same response that I shouldn't be concerned basically with that the city is reimbursed by the state. So,
Thank you.
if that's true, that we don't pay for the election workers, that certainly is a difference. But I think that we should have a commitment that, I understand the last election, the AVs and all the ballots were done, tabulations were done by 9 o'clock. The sticks got to the county at 1:30 in the morning, so they were done here. And they were also posted, I didn't even know one time, they were posted on the city's website well in advance of anything getting to the county. And the county has to have those sticks, they just can't have somebody's word for it. So that was very inappropriate. The other clerks in the county think it was done that way, that those sticks should be going to the county first. So I would like a commitment from the clerk. Of course, she's not here. I'm absolutely not surprised. I predicted this days ago that she would not show. We've been trying to get her to come in front of council for a very long time to answer a lot of questions we have. But I would like to have a commitment that if one precinct is done, that stick gets to the county. I don't care how they do it. I'll pay for a Brinks truck. Just get them there. But the county will send a sheriff and a car, and the city will do that, but they don't have to be all at one time. And other cities send them in periodically so that you're not waiting for the whole city of Warren, because that's a big city. If we, have 4 or 5 precincts, that's a big deal. So I think we should at least try to do the best we can. I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to have to approve any contract that comes. If contract comes, we'll have to have a council meeting. I don't know how and when I can convene that. We have to have, for a special meeting, we have to have 5 members. And we have to have 5 votes for an appropriation of funds. I don't know when that can be accomplished. I know we have council people going on vacation, so it's probably not going to be possible after today. So I don't know. We'll have to see.
Mr.
Madam
Noonan.
President, thank you so much. So as I'm understanding it, according to the calculations that came forward from President Rogancy, it would be about $6,000 per day for election workers,
Low end.
low end, and to get the votes tabulated, additional election workers, I guess, in addition to the ones we have, if they weren't able to be switched over to also tabulating. But that would all get paid for, not by the city, but by the state. And so we wouldn't even have to worry about it. So I guess I would suggest that the elections office go ahead and arrange to have that happen.
We can't do it. We can't, it's too late. You have to put a notice to the
Oh,
state.
too late even.
They can hire more people.
Oh,
No, to
yeah.
hire more people. I mean, if the
Just work
election
on
workers
Tuesday.
are paid for by the state, not by the city, then that would be a zero cost item for us, and another reason for why we shouldn't be voting in favor of renting or buying an extra tabulator. I yield.
Thank you.
Madam President?
Mr. Lafferty.
I did a quick comparison of the encumbrance reports from the period ending December 31st, 2020, when we last had another 4-year election cycle. And at the time, that council appropriated $405,000 just for election wages. And we used, at that period of time, we had used 54% of that money. Now, fast forward to this budget year, we appropriated $573,000 because we saw the need for higher rates and potentially more workers needed for a very large election. And as of right now, the election wages, only 16% of that budget has been used. And there's a very healthy sum. Your office has plenty of cash to fund additional workers. So I think the best option here is, since the technical process is far too risky, I would suggest adopting an approach that does not require any procedural changes, any administrative approvals, and you go and you look for more workers to help expedite this process. And reach out to Sterling Heights, reach out to the other municipalities that are able to report their totals much, much earlier than Warren can. Follow that process. And they obviously have a winning strategy. They have a formula that works. And the county clerk is begging you to deliver those memory cards. Get the cards in, follow the procedures that the other municipalities follow, and we should be in good shape. I don't want to hear any excuses on election night saying, pointing the finger at another branch of government that wasn't willing to help. We're here. Your boss is not. Thank you.
Are the other cities using the new tabulator? I'm sorry.
Go ahead. You can ask.
Are the other cities using a new tabulator? I don't know.
I'm sorry.
Is Sterling Heights using a new tabulator, the one that you want?
I don't know.
Because I hear that other cities are using it. Yeah, but Sterling Heights is
Not in the county,
not in Macomb County.
that I know of.
Yeah. I thought I heard yesterday they are. Okay, some are.
Ma'am.
Yeah.
Everybody has, I think, high-speed scanners, right? This is just one on steroids. I think most everybody got the high-speed scanners, or I keep calling scanners tabulators, tied to grant money, and I had the name of the grant somewhere. But I think everybody, Ms. Dillard, you got those under a grant, I think, from the state. Everybody got them that needed them of a certain size. Some cities have so few voters, they don't need them, the tabulators.
But this one in particular, the 550, whatever it's called.
950.
950, that one in particular, no one in Macomb is using it, else, as of now.
I don't know.
Because I thought they said Sterling Heights had one.
They do not. I can tell you they do not.
Okay.
Madam President, I move that we call the question.
We have a, thank you. Motion to deny.
Should we table it? Since it was
That's your option if you want to table it, but I mean, it's just tabling this item to,
if it's been may I ask, if it's been withdrawn, the request has been withdrawn, what should our action be? I mean, not a vote, but
I mean, if
whatever.
it's withdrawn, then, you technically don't have, you can deny it for, your own sake if you want to deny it, or no action is required, because it's been withdrawn. I don't know about tabling it.
Pardon me?
because-
Receive and file?
Yeah,
Okay.
that might be
I'll
the,
change my motion to receive and file.
Mr. Lafferty,
I will support that
Yeah.
motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next item,
Next item, audience participation.
Maggie Huntone.
Thank you all for coming on this short notice to attend this meeting to discuss this. I did a little research myself, texted with a couple of you, and on the basis that we were going to ask to buy this $140,000 DS 950, well, that's apparently not going to happen. I had hoped, coming here, we would be able to get some answers to people who have been watching to see what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and we would be able to calm some of the fears we all have. Instead, the things I've heard here tonight just make me more scared. It's going to make other people more scared. Their questions were not answered. Now we have more questions. And although I think the direction that we're going in to try to staff up more workers, if that's at all possible at this late point, is probably the best thing to do. It's going to save us money from buying this tabulator or renting it. But the fact that we're still talking about, do we rent, do we buy, are more workers, that just doesn't reassure me that we're going to be able to be ready and to fulfill our obligation to the county, the state, and the country to have our election results tabulated in a sufficient amount of time to report back to the people of our state, the people of the country, what Warren decided to do. I want to thank you all again for your efforts tonight, and I really do appreciate the time you've taken and the work that you've done.
Thank you. Next is Lori Harris.
I have a couple questions. One question was for Mr. Fox. If the money's that isn't spent in a budget year, going to a contingency fund, if we didn't hire enough police officers, is that in a contingency fund that can get spent any place? That really made me wonder. I've seen Miss Lisa and Miss Christina taking a lot of notes. I don't know what benefit it will be, and I feel bad that Lisa's taking the fall for Sonia Buffa, who should be here. I think that Ms. Buffa is just scrambling. You know, it doesn't make any sense. When it doesn't make sense, there's something wrong. It doesn't make sense to do this right now. It would have made sense 5 months ago, or after the August election even. But to do it now, it doesn't make any sense. It's a last-ditch effort to show that she's trying to do something, and it's doing it wrong. And I'm not sure why you guys are taking notes. It's all on video. So thank you I apologize on behalf of the citizens that you have to come and do all of this. And I agree with Ms. Huntone that it's going to make people more curious about how things are being done when this is handled this way by the clerk. Thank you.
Ms. Ludovisi.
Good evening. Thank you for all being here. I just wanted to say, as a resident, I feel as if you guys have been very quite hypocritical tonight. You asked for some actions from our clerk, and then she showed up and she gave you an option. And yes, I understand she changed her mind at the last minute because she's looking to rent it because she was under the impression that you were going to vote it down in the first place. So I just think it's, shame on all of you, on not just you, all of you, for what you've done. When you really think that, you voiced your concerns, and then she listened and she tried to come to the table, tried to take what you said to heart and to fix this, and then this is the way you guys have treated her. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. Next item.
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And Lansing, she would have been fired by this.